Hey, what's up? This is Aaron LeBauer. Welcome back to the Cash PG Lunch Hour. My special guest today is Alison McLean. Alison and I go way back in the terms of PT days. I mean, it's been quite a few years. Alison is a physical therapist, entrepreneur, yoga, yoga teacher, wellness, everything from California. We speak the same language. We speak Californian. And so, Alison, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm honored.
So I wanted to have you on the show for a couple of different reasons. I think one, I saw recently that you're doing more like comprehensive, you said comprehensive wellness programs for entrepreneurs. And I was like, oh man, like we need to talk about that. So I wanted to, and because I know that you've done a lot of things, like you've had a private practice focusing on yoga therapy. You've also done kind of more alternate streams of revenue with like essential oils and some other pieces. You've written a book, like I think I've got a little health quote in your book here, the Ignite Your Wellness Journal, a bunch of things. And so there's a lot of people watching. They're like, well, I could never do that. Or how could I do that? How does she do all that? So that's why I wanted to have you on the show. So let's start back to, how did you get into this whole physical therapy thing anyways? Like, where did that journey start?
Oh, well, here our roots are similar because I was a massage therapist for almost a decade before going to PT school.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I always loved to work with my hands, and I was getting a lot of repeat clients with low back issues or migraines. And I knew I just had very tip of the iceberg knowledge. And so that's how I ended up deciding to go back to school for PT. I was the older student, Right.
Yeah. So was I. How old were you when you went back to school?
Truthfully, not that old. I was only 28, but it felt like decades older than 23 or 21.
Right. Where did you grow up in California?
No, upstate New York, Rochester, New York.
Okay. And how'd you get to California?
I don't do well with snow.
Yeah.
The beach called my name.
Were you a massage therapist before you moved, or was that something that
No, I moved to San Diego, California, and for an internship, actually, my senior year in college, and I interned at Scripps at Shiley Health and Fitness Center, and at the same time realized that massage would complement that type of work, so got certified out here in San Diego in 2001.
Right on. So, same kind of thing happened to me. I was like, I moved to California, and I was like, oh, massage is going to complement my bike racing.
Yes, it
does. So tell me, what were some of the things that you encountered as a massage therapist in California, good and bad,
Well, the good is it taught me so much, preparing me for owning my own cash-based practice, because as a massage therapist, anyone can walk in off the street with low back pain or anything, no referral needed, just help me. And I had to learn how to I had my own massage practice, so I had to learn how to get my own clients. And I figured if I could do that without the knowledge base of physical therapy school, that when I had my doctorate, hey, I could really rock this. So I came out feeling more confident, I suspect, than had I not had that massage practice prior to PT school.
Doing massage, where did you feel like your limit was? And what drove you to go and move into PT?
Yeah, I had a basic understanding of muscles, and in massage school, the focus is muscles and bones. There really isn't that much knowledge. There's a little bit on tendons or ligaments, a little bit on nerves, but I just knew that I didn't quite understand what I was feeling under my fingers or why someone was having low back pain. I didn't understand the pathway as to why sometimes a massage would help one particular person and another person, they might feel better for a day, but then, they come back because the pain returns. So I didn't understand all that.
Yeah. Did you ever have, I had someone say this to me, and it was interesting. It was, well, I know when I tweak my back, I need to go see my massage therapist.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard that?
Yes.
Right? I've never heard someone say, when I tweak my back, I know I need to see my physical therapist.
Right. I know.
What
We're
do you
horrible marketers, us PTs.
right? And I think at
We're
the
learning.
time, right, and the time when I heard that, like, if someone was in California, that was in California, someone tweaked their back, they could come see me that afternoon. It'd take them 2 weeks to get in to see a PT because they had to get a referral at that point. And
Yeah.
so, did you struggle with like the direct access stuff when you became a PT,
Yes.
moving from
Yeah.
massage?
Yeah. The whole thing, like the volume, the cookie, when I first graduated, I ended up in, a high volume, fast paced clinic, and it, for many reasons, just didn't suit me. The good thing about it was I did get my hands on a lot of people and I gained experience and I had some really good mentors, but I really prefer the one-on-one type setting. And
Yeah. How did you get from how'd you go from that to owning your own business? Was there something that like shifted for you, or are you like tired of this? Like, I gotta go do this thing that I was already doing before?
sure, yeah, when I was in the traditional type of PT clinic, I felt like I was a yogi in a closet,
Mhm.
anytime I'd say, because this is over a decade or so ago, anytime I would say, oh, I'm going to go to yoga, a therapist would say, oh, you're just going to injure yourself or whatever. So I always felt like I was practicing in the dark, not
Right.
telling anyone. So that was not in alignment to begin with. And eventually I met my mentor, who ironically, I had seen her practice combining yoga and physical therapy right when I was accepted into PT school. And yoga, I had a few surgeries myself, and the combination of physical therapy, yoga, and massage is truthfully what helped me to heal. And so ideally, that's always what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw her practice and she opened up some mentoring spots and some trainings, I started training with her. And then she had an opening in her clinic. So I worked for her for a period of time. And when she was getting ready to sell her practice, eventually I was let go, and had to make a decision at that point. Like, do I do my own thing? Do I go work for another person? And my old patients just started calling me, because I used to set up my own appointments at the time,
Yeah.
and said, can I come see you? And even though I told them I'm like 30 minutes away, they're like, we don't care. I want to continue our work. So it was really crazy. The next week, I already had 5 people scheduled. So I felt like the decision was kind of made for me at the time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so were you at that time, were you integrating yoga with your physical therapy and using like therapeutic yoga, or however you want to
Yeah,
call that
sure.
now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, that's what I spent a number of years learning from the mentor,
Mm-hmm.
was more therapeutic yoga, because I knew how to practice for myself, but how do you modify the poses? I learned the great yoga wall,
Yeah.
meditation techniques, pranayama, all that, and really making it applicable and accessible to anybody.
Yeah. That's awesome. Are you more trained in like Iyengar style yoga? Is that
I
what the
did.
wall
I
is all
did.
about?
Yeah. So, yep, it's from Mr. Iyengar. So I did a few Iyengar trainings under a senior Iyengar teacher here in San Diego, until she told me, with the Iyengar method, if you teach Iyengar, that's all you can teach.
Right.
So she eventually told me, Alison, you must choose your path. And I practiced Ashtanga. So I love that method as well. And I didn't want to be limited. So I was lucky to get a year of trainings out of her, and I
Yeah.
studied yoga therapy with her. She had a weekly yoga therapeutic class, and I, those teachers really do put a ton of energy, time, and effort in learning about the body.
Mm-hmm.
Her knowledge base always impressed me. Sometimes she was a bit off. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, but she did really know a lot.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. While we're on the yoga topic, and
Mm-hmm.
most people who may not listen to this, you might not know about this unless you practice yoga like we do. Like I'm
Uh-huh.
also I'm a Baptiste. I'm not a
Oh, uh-huh.
certified instructor. I did my yoga training it's called a Baptiste inspired studio. They're not
Sure.
affiliate or something like that. But anyways, that's where I did my yoga training about 8 years ago. I've been doing yoga since I was in college, 20 something years ago. And
Yeah.
I've been using it in my practice of physical therapy before, because the corrective exercises or exercises I learned in PT school were so complicated, people couldn't do it. And I was like,
Yeah.
screw this stuff. Like I practice yoga. I'm just going to basically take these things and modify them for my patients, and we'll do body weight based exercises based on yoga. And so I did that for a while. And then a few years ago, as you know, there's now like you can or cannot be a yoga therapist or a therapist that
Right.
uses
Oh,
yoga. And I'm like, you can't tell me as a healthcare provider like what to do because I'm a physical therapist and I can do yoga therapy because I'm a physical therapist and all this stuff. Like, do you have one easy way to identify that or have like an opinion one way or the other?
oh, I see both sides of the equation just because I'm friends with a lot of yoga teachers
Mm-hmm.
and I'm also friends with a lot of healthcare providers that are
Right.
also yoga teachers. So I myself did get my IAYT, International Association of Yoga Therapists credentialed. I was
Mm-hmm.
grandfathered in,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm sure you could have been as well because you were teaching and practicing for a number of years.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, that's good, but in the end, sometimes it's just it's a political thing,
Right.
you know. Uh,
I mean, I understand like, it's like yoga teachers, personal trainers, trying to do therapy
uh-huh.
is very different than someone who was like, well, I'm a licensed therapist to touch or to help people move, using these kinds of exercises. And it was that all came about at the time where I was kind of getting out of like clinical practice, and I was like, I don't care, I just do my thing. But I couldn't renew I couldn't on the I was
Oh, the I
Yoga
yes.
Alliance like registered, and I was like, I couldn't say that I did physical therapy or I couldn't say I did something, and it was just like, I was like, just take
Yeah,
my money and leave me alone. Or, and now I don't teach at a studio that requires me to be, have a Yoga
certified.
Alliance certification. So
Yeah.
not an
Yeah,
issue.
I mean, sometimes if you've been teaching long enough, you don't
Yeah.
need either of those. And I mean, the physical therapy, the yoga world does respect the physical therapy license
Yeah.
and all our education. So it does trump yoga
Mm-hmm.
therapy. And the IAYT has some really great founding members that really do try to support the healthcare providers
Yeah.
so they don't have to jump through as many hurdles as a yoga teacher would have to get that same credential.
Got
So
it.
they
Okay.
do try to respect our knowledge base.
Yeah. Cause I saw someone posted a picture like, here's what happens at the gym. And it was like a trainer manipulating someone's like hip flexors, in the background. And it's just like,
What's going on?
or what's going on? Well, I just want to get back to the fact that like as physical therapists, we've allowed our brand to be diluted because we don't have a very cohesive brand, probably because we do so many different things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So, because you do, yoga, and then there's people that do Pilates, and people that do like barbell and weightlifting, and they do some people do what's it called
Oh,
where you stick the needles in your
V-stim.
in your nerves and you shock someone to see if they have feeling in their arm. What is that,
dry needling. I don't
No,
know if that's
was
not
it
the
the electro neurologic testing, right? They do, and then there's people that do wound care, right?
right.
Things.
Yeah. I mean,
So
that's my biggest challenge in terms of owning my own practice is really clarifying that marketing
mhm.
message, truthfully
Yeah,
speaking to that one person.
right, right, and that's what I want to get to. So how do you do that? Like, what is your marketing message, and how'd you clarify it down to like one person? Which is a great.
Uh,
If anyone listens, did you hear Alison say she speaks to one person, right?
it's a work in progress,
Right.
but yeah, so right now truthfully I'm polling people
Mm-hmm.
because I was finding my list, that was air quotes for those of you
Mm-hmm.
that can't see, but a lot of the people on my list are entrepreneurs, and I think sometimes as an entrepreneur, whether they're a yoga teacher, a physical therapist that owns their own practice, a CPA, attorney, whatever it is, I have financial investors, I have a number of them, and sometimes health becomes last on the list.
Mm-hmm.
And so listening to the responses I get from emails, or I do a free consultation. So the pain points that someone might tell me over the years of just hearing common themes and having a similar target, then I try to develop the message for that one
Mm-hmm.
person.
Yeah,
It's
that's awesome.
sometimes I have FOMO,
Yeah,
that I'm missing out on the other people.
right. That's something I learned 2 or 3 years ago from this speaker, who's an amazing speaker. His name is Joel Weldon. He has like 90 years old, and he water skis every year he does slalom skis on his birthday. But he does he has a seated ski. But what he said was speak to you, right? And that's what you said. You just developed this, I'm figuring out that who's the one person. And as Joel said, it's like you speak to that one person. And I think it's just really powerful that you bring that up, because we gloss over that part. We build up who we want to speak to, and everyone speaks to everybody still in that subset. Mm-hmm. What's the reason that entrepreneurs or business people or busy people make health last on their list?
That's a good question. Well, I think as physical therapists or any service provider, a lot of the times they've gotten into their field because they care about people. Mm-hmm. And it's just part of their innate being. So to put someone's needs before their own, especially if they're a mom and have a family, or they haven't felt the positive consequences of putting their health first to mm-hmm. even know or understand what it would feel like in their own body, like waking up with more energy or feeling less sore or being more productive throughout their day. They've never felt that before, so they don't even understand the benefits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why, can you talk more about like like putting other people's needs first? Because I know a lot of people do that, right? It might feel at the time like it's more important for me to put someone else's needs before mine.
Yeah.
But what are the pitfalls and downfalls of that? Of doing it all day long?
So you're talking to a hyper mobile person. So as a yogi, I'm also very hyper mobile. And I was I say was because it is a work in progress, but I was really lacking both physical boundaries in my own body, but mm-hmm. also in an energetic sense, like boundaries out there in the real world, the ability to say no or express like my needs or wants, because sometimes of fears, lack of my own self-worth, confidence, all these buried kind of underlying unconscious thoughts that we don't even realize are going in the background.
Right. How do you start recognizing that or getting out of that kind of pattern?
Yeah, that is the work.
Right, if it was that easy.
It's, for me, it's slowing down, which is the hardest thing as an entrepreneur and a mom, because there's always a to-do list, right? There's always, especially now, my daughter's doing this distance learning. So as a 5-year-old, I have to, right now I'm helping her with school. So the list is always ongoing, but instead of trying to move from scarcity or hustle, crossing things off the list, it's actually slowing down enough to stop the spinning wheels and notice what are the repeating either thoughts or patterns of how I move that are actually self-sabotaging. So you have to go slow to go faster in the big picture.
Right. How, I kind of feel it both ways, right? Like I'm in this to help other people, and my wife is also a massage therapist, and it's easier for me to look at myself and go, okay, if I take care of my needs first, I can take care of others first. And then I work with a lot of other people who are like, I need to take care of others first to, then my needs. And I don't know if the conversation is then my needs are met, but I know that like on both ends, me taking care of myself first can prohibit me from taking care of other people sometimes. And other people say, I got to take care of me, it prohibits you from doing that. Like, what are some strategies that people can use to kind of come in the middle? And and I want to preclude that with, if you're a physical therapist, you're probably not as self-centered as it sounds because you're in it to help other people too.
Totally.
But how do we start taking action steps to, kind of come back into the center and be able to help more people?
Yeah. I learned a really tactical scheduling method through a podcast and a coaching program that I personally went through. And it was called time blocking, which I think as entrepreneurs, we hear of strategizing like a few podcast interviews in a row or a few patients in a row. So you're doing a similar activity in a chunk of time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in the same brain as we were discussing earlier, and the flow is there.
Right.
So that's one method. But overall, to take it even a step further is every Sunday night or Monday morning, I look at I literally get all that I have to do, whether it be personal or for my business, out of my head and onto a piece of paper. So I pretty much just do a brain dump. And then how I schedule my week, it starts with putting my workouts in, or right now I have follow-up doctor's appointments. So those go into the schedule first. So they're already carved out. And then I'm going to put in my daughter's needs, my husband's needs. Those go into the schedule next. And then I start to fill the schedule with the work needs and the work tasks. And it's not always perfect, because sometimes I get, a last minute patient that wants to come in. So I'm learning like how to schedule overflow time and that sort of thing. But it has helped me tremendously. If I block off for that time for myself first, it's in there and it's non-negotiable. Like I don't change patients' appointments on a whim. Why would I do that to myself?
Right. What are some of your non-negotiables? Like, are there certain tasks that you do every week? Like, I got to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, totally. I most days of the week, I need to do some type of workout, even if it's a walk, or for me, sometimes a gentle yoga practice is considered a workout, just to give my body time to replenish and recover. So either some type of physical movement or restoration type practice is pretty much a daily, or else my husband can tell. He's like, have you done yoga in some time? I think you need some yoga.
There's like a big sign above that says, watch out, I'm going to explode.
AKA, yeah, I might be not the nicest person.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can tell when I don't work out. I can tell when I need to do yoga. Like my body feels a certain way. It's like, Aaron, you need to do some yoga. My body feels a different way when I need to, get on my bike and ride for a long time. And I'm like, okay, I need to go work out like heavy, and so it's like it's been 46 years, almost 47 for me. I'm getting into my body. I don't know I know it better and better every day. Are there some, I know there are a lot of people on here, they're in like hustle and grind mode, right? And they're probably putting like exercise by the wayside, why is it important for us as physical therapists to actually like move on a regular basis? And also, how do we get that back in our schedule if we've ditched it?
I was totally there. And fortunately, I had a huge wake-up call. So almost 3 years ago now, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I couldn't work. And I still have like health things that come up that need to be monitored. But I remember a couple years ago, I had one of the best revenue years ever. But I was sitting in the office. I was teaching like 8:30 p.m. yoga classes. I was leading a lot of trainings on the weekend, and I sat there and I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm doing this for revenue. Yes, but the revenue is supposed to help my family, and I'm not even seeing my family. And if I keep working this way, I'm going to put myself at higher risk for getting cancer again. And I realized that's not really what I wanted deep down, right? I have my business because it's very fulfilling and I love helping others. But also I want to enjoy life too at the same time and be healthy. And so it was very uncomfortable, and it still is, because my pattern is to hustle and grind and just fill my schedule up 7 days a week, like at all hours. It's just like what I do sometimes. But to actually, again, slow down and have those boundaries and the confidence to be like, in the long run, that's not going to serve me, because I'm going to crash and burn, which essentially I did. So I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah. What happened next?
So I had to, well, first was surgery, but Then I had to heal and recover from that and learn how to schedule, as I'm saying. That's part of the reason why I started doing more, investing in more of my own, like health coaching, life coaching, that sort of thing. So I could actually work from a place of abundance instead of, for me, I didn't realize, but I had a lot of fears and scarcity mindsets that were the driver.
Like what kind of fear did you have?
Just, well, at first when I, started renting a commercial lease space and investing in higher cost mentoring programs, just meeting expenses each month, that was a big driver. But as soon as I got rolling and I actually noticed the switch, I felt so much better, and that actually attracted more people.
That's awesome. What switched for you?
The belief and confidence in myself, of like the value that I offer, and that I can get people results.
Yeah. How did you figure that out? Or what was the light, like what happened when, like, was there one day you're like, oh, this is it? Or did it come slowly,
Slowly. In fact, I'm still working through that at times, especially now that I'm moving into more of the online space and offering online programs. I felt that same thought pattern come back. Well, like, how can I get people results online? Like, now I'm not touching them, which is like my go-to, so I had to really, what I personally been doing is journaling each morning, and of all the value that I can offer someone, and it kind of reinforces that pattern.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Positivity.
It's kind of like, one of the things that I was doing this weekend was listening to an audio, and it was talking about, like, your results should be measured by your done list, not your to-do list.
Oh,
right?
Yes, exactly.
Right. So it's like you mentioned, the to-do list never ends, right? But it's like you just said, you're journaling by going back and looking at these things. It's like, well, if you're looking at your done list, it's like, oh, look at all the results I've got for myself, for my patients. Look at all these people I've discharged. Look at all this stuff. It's like, it's the done list, but we always, look at the to-do list. It never ends.
Yeah, that's very true.
So what, as you're moving into doing more online programs, are you still seeing patients in person, or are you doing all online type of stuff?
Doing a hybrid. Right now, because my daughter is learning from home, and for my own health reasons, I want to reduce the number of volume of patients I see in 1 week. However, I do want to keep those one-on-ones. I really enjoy them. It's very fulfilling. So to make up the gap in terms of revenue, I'm offering online programs. However, I feel like they're not second best.
Right.
I realize now that I have these programs that I'm offering, as I'm teaching the one-on-ones, I'm like, oh, they need this program. I explain it out step by step in the program. So now I'm like, oh, I got to combine the two. Duh.
Right. That's awesome. Was it basically like you made these programs out of like lessons and strategies and things you've already taught your patients, and you said, here, go through this?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's everything that I've learned, like through the years, whether it be coaching, yoga, like the strength training, traction, whatever it is, I have different, I have it organized in a portal.
Yeah. What's your, do you have like one or two main programs that are doing well for you, or that you're?
Yeah, I have the ultimate wellness program for the entrepreneur that's doing really well. And that actually, when someone purchases that program, they get bonus one-on-one sessions with me, but they also get access to the vault. So all my workshops, anything that I've recorded is in there. So they can go through at their own pace, and weekly calls with me. So that does really well. And people do really get good results with that. But then also I have the programs a la carte. So there is a yoga, I call it the Level Up Your Yoga program for those that do want to progress their practice safely. A nutrition program, because that's a nice complement to the healing work in the body. So those are the three main programs.
Yeah. The wellness program is that the one for like entrepreneurs? Is that what that one is? Yeah. What does that like entail? Like, it's not just physical therapy or, yoga. I mean, what's kind of stuff
so there is the physical component. So let's say there is an entrepreneur that like goes to sit down at the desk, and they have some nagging low back pain or whatever, and it's distracting them.
Mm-hmm.
So there is physical exercises or yoga postures or techniques in there to help with a physical issue like low back pain. But then there's also 12 weeks of quote unquote health coaching where I guide you through these mental blocks or limitations, or noticing the thoughts that might be sabotaging. Like, for example, I have a patient that has very tight hamstrings that's contributing to their disc pain when they sit, and they're a financial investor. So it's like limiting their capacity to work on the computer. And one day he kind of hit a plateau, and I asked him to show me how he was doing his hamstring exercises. And he was really gripping and forcing, like yanking on his poor legs. And that was contributing to more of his soreness. And it's not necessarily that act of forcing and gripping and pulling, but why was he doing it? And it was a lot of the thoughts going on in his head that was actually occurring when he was getting down on the mat, like whether he was feeling pressured for time or was mad at his body for having pain in the first place. So it gets a little deeper, but often these are the root causes, because what we do in life, we bring onto the mat, or sometimes what we do on the mat, we bring into life. It's all just patterns being played out in many different ways.
Right. Yeah. It's like, however you are in your business, you are in your relationships, or however you are in your sport or activity, you just bring that same stuff in a lot of places.
Yeah, exactly.
What kind of, is this for people that are like burnt out or just stressed, or how, like,
I do a lot. It can be pain, but stress is the other big one. Stress and lack of energy. So with yoga, there's so much that you can do with stress. And a lot of times energy is depleted, or one can feel really fatigued because they're very stressed. So stress is not going to go away. In fact, a little bit of it is good, right? It allows us to be successful entrepreneurs because it pushes us. However, it's the management of it, or working with our nervous system, essentially. So I do a lot of work with that, down-regulating the nervous system.
Awesome. Well, right now is like one of the least stressful times in history. I mean, my eyes are rolling if you can, so it's a really stressful time. Like, everyone's stressed out. Even if the people's business is booming, right? Like probably Zoom and Amazon and, somebody is like, well, they got, a lot of business or no one's business. Like, what are some things people can do right now, especially with it being really stressful in our country with the pandemic and the politics and all these other things going on?
Yeah, there's so much.
It's kind of nuts.
Much. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I find personally the best thing that I can do for myself to help manage it is just get stuff out of my head and onto paper. So just doing a brain dump in the morning, and that kind of highlights maybe what are the biggest stressors, what are the biggest fears or the biggest worries. And then from there, once you see that, then you can work on that, whether it be through a physical practice, whether that be through a meditation program. And there's many types of meditation programs. It doesn't have to be like clearing your head or whatnot. There's different styles. For me also, I find the most effective is a lot of breath work, which is free. You can access it anywhere, anytime,
That's
so
awesome.
Those are my main go-tos.
That's great. What, and you mentioned, so you've got an online programs, you've got your clinic, and you've got where like you have like a book you published, you've got, I think, essential oils where you're doing like doTERRA, like you've got multiple streams of revenue, I think.
Yeah.
Right. So can you tell me, like, why did you do those different things? And, because I think a lot of people go in and say, oh, I'm just going to treat patients, or I'm just going to sell my one thing. Like, you've got multiple, like whether they were called projects or streams of revenue coming in. Can you talk about like why you decided to add those different, avenues?
It's a weakness. I have this thing called shiny object syndrome.
Right.
I don't recommend that. It's one of the mistakes I've learned through the years. It's a bit of trial and error. And truthfully, it did help me get started having revenue coming in from all these different places. But then through tracking it through the years, I'd figure out, what are my primary revenue generators? Let's do more of that and less of these other things. So it's not like I don't do the other things, but I've shifted my focus to primarily the one-on-ones and the online programs, because that's seems to be what people want. And the other things kind of fall in the umbrella of how I can help them through health and wellness. So it through trial and error and just tracking numbers, then I begin to narrow down.
That's awesome. Did you have something that you did that you thought was going to be like gangbusters, was going to make you like super successful, however you want to decide that, and then it just didn't work out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I did think that the yoga wall would catch on more than people are very curious about it. But in my mind, when I first learned the yoga wall, I'm like, oh my God, I can do inferior glide. I can do posterior glide without me having to like with my own labor, you know, like it's the patient's doing it. So it's muscle memory, it's re-education. I'm like, this is going to go crazy. And I think people maybe just don't understand what it is, or it looks kind of scary, like you're going to be tied up or something. It is popular for the yogi. But I think first glance for some of the PTs, they're kind of like, what is this? However, I've had some chiros that have been very interested and have actually installed the walls in their own clinic.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Did you help them with that, or was that just some
they
people?
come to, so prior to the pandemic, I taught a weekly or sometimes twice a week yoga class using the yoga wall. So pretty much people just show up to the classes. And then I have a business partner in the yoga world where we lead yoga wall training. So then people come to those.
Oh.
We just haven't been doing them because it needs to be live, you know.
Before the pandemic, was that one of your primary revenue generators? Because that was just fun.
That was a very both. Yeah. That was a good revenue generator. It was fun. Yeah.
Do you see that coming back anytime soon?
Yeah, we had one scheduled for April of 2020. So we're looking to hopefully hold it before the end of the year.
Okay.
It's just a weekend deal.
Yeah. Awesome. And are the gyms and yoga studios open out in Southern California?
10%.
Yeah.
So like, I guess 3 people could come, you know, 3 to 5.
So they can be open, but like 10% capacity.
Yes, you got it.
That's crazy.
But hopefully it'll continue to progress, and then we'll be bigger group scenarios.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are your like 3 to 5 year goals? Like, what's next for you?
Oh, good question. Continuing down this path of really clarifying and staying the course. Yeah. Putting the blinders on, doing the work.
Yeah, doing the work, like treating patients, building out just online offerings.
Yes, exactly. You got it.
Like putting on the blinders. What do you mean? Tell me about. I think I know what you mean, but I want people to understand like what you're talking about. Like,
yeah. Not getting distracted by any more shiny object syndromes. It's essentially, it's planning, right? Because I was actually talking with someone about this in a Facebook group, because she wanted to start a Facebook group because that can be a very successful lead generator. However, she doesn't have the resources right now. So it's not that we're saying no to things, but you have to prioritize what's your focus right now, and then maybe that goes on the list for the future.
Right.
So that's what I mean by putting blinders on, is I have a plan. I need to stick to the plan. If something else comes in that's shiny and sparkly, I can evaluate it and then determine where in the plan does that fit best, instead of being impulsive.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. There's like, I got my plan, and I know like everything I do, it has to lead to the goal. If it doesn't lead to the goal, it's like, it's a great idea. We're not going to work on that right now. Maybe we'll do it later. You know, and like my team will say, Aaron, we should do this. I'm like, great. Does it lead us to this goal? No, not really. Or how is it going to lead us to this goal? Right. Which is important. It's the, you know, like good idea, shiny object syndrome. Like it can be distracting, right?
Very distracting and energy draining, because now your focus is all these different places. Right.
And so many people say, Aaron, I just don't have time to get that done. I'm like, well, I got time, right? It's just there's other things to focus on. So, Alison, if someone is listening and they, you know, I don't know, gosh, like, let me ask you this question instead. There's a better question. I think I'll get the answer out of you that I want. What question haven't I asked you yet that you think our listeners would benefit from hearing the answer to?
That is a good question. You know, I'm not sure. Let me think on that a moment.
What drives you to do all this? And this is a lot. And you have kids,
Yeah.
and you got your family, and you had an illness, and like you clearly have passion for doing this. I mean, you could certainly just go get a job doing skilled nursing, home health, and make your $100,000 a year and just be done.
Yeah, it's interesting because I actually, my husband and I just had this conversation in May. I ended up in the hospital for a week, and I'm still being monitored for some things. And when I was discharged, I was like, how did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was doing all the right things. How did I end up here again? And do I want to continue? And it's funny, my husband knows, like, he's like, well, you can just get a job, or maybe we'll just, downsize our expenses and you focus on our daughter. But that would make my heart so sad. Mm-hmm. This is my purpose. I feel deeply connected to helping other people this way, and for me, I feel like my brand is a brand. One of my patients actually told me this. She's like, your message is like a message of hope for people that maybe are suffering with stress every day, or anxiety, or worry, or pain, or given a diagnosis where there is no resolution or there is no solution. It's good to know that someone's walking the path already and is able to like, I'm hopeful for my future. I'm hopeful for my yoga practice. I'm hopeful for my health, even though I have this genetic mutation. Mm-hmm. And I just want to give other people that same hope. That's what drives me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's important. If someone wants to learn more about you, like, how do they find you?
Yeah, sure. They can, anything with Ignite Your Wellness, with a UR. So that's the website.com, the podcast, the website. They can go to any of those places and get a glimpse.
That's awesome. If you had one piece of advice to younger Alison who just graduated PT school, what would it be?
Believe in yourself, trust yourself. And we learn so much in PT school. Our knowledge base is so thorough. We had to jump through so many hoops to get here, and have confidence in that. I see so many PTs that just really, they have the skills, they have the knowledge, and they just lack that confidence. Mm-hmm. And patients can pick up on that, Right. And that was a huge one for me, is really knowing my value, what I have to offer others.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today and sharing with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is the Cash PT Lunch Hour. Aaron LeBauer, Alison, and gosh, you know what? Go out and exercise every day. My top takeaways: exercise. Get your stress out. Focus on yourself a little bit to help other people, and schedule your week so that you can be there for other people. I think that's it.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, we'll see you guys on the next show. Thanks so much, Alison.